Hello and welcome everyone into that presentation where I'm going to talk about how to choose the right design solution for your industry. Before we jump into xShape itself, I want to start with a very important idea. Choosing the right design solution for the type of products you manufacture is one of the most important decisions you can make. Because at the end of the day, what makes you different from your competitors is not only the quality of your product, and most of us know that already, but also how fast you can turn an idea into reality. If you have the right tools, you will be able to explore more creative concepts, respond to customer requests faster, and shorten your design cycle. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today using xShape. I choose the title to be choosing a tailored solution for your industry because not every company needs the same design solution. In a previous session, we discussed the different design paths available today, including SOLIDWORKS Desktop, SOLIDWORKS Connected, and fully cloud-based design solutions. Each option has its own value depending on the company's workflow, team structure, products, and future goals. However, today's session will focus specifically on one cloud-based design rule, 3D Sculptor. After explaining the differences between the available options, many people wanted to see how the 3D Sculptor actually works in a live environment. So today, instead of only talking about the concept, we will explore it practically. We will look at how 3D Sculptor can help design teams create freeform, organic, and complex shapes more easily using subdivision modeling. The goal of this demo is to show where 3D Sculptor fits, when it can add value, and how it can complement SOLIDWORKS in a real design workflow. Before we move into the live demo, I want to quickly explain the two main approaches we can use when creating complex shapes. The first option, of course, will be SOLIDWORKS Surface Tools. Surface tools are very powerful when we need a high level of precision and control. They are ideal when the design needs accurate geometry, engineering control, detailed refinement, and a more structured modeling processes. This approach is very useful when we already understand the final shape and we want to build it carefully with controlled surfaces and accurate dimensions. The second option is xShape, which is a part of the 3D Sculptor rule on the 3D Experience platform. xShape uses a different approach called subdivision modeling or sub-D modeling. Instead of building the model feature by feature, we can push, pull, and sculpt the form more naturally. This makes it very useful for organic shapes, free-form products, early concept developments, and exploring multiple design ideas quickly. So the idea is not that one tool replaces the other, they are two different approaches. SOLIDWORKS Surface Tools are great for precision and engineering control. xShape or 3D Sculptor rule is great for speed, creativity, and flexible shape exploration. The best choice, of course, will depend on the design intent, the level of control required, and the stage of the product development processes. I explained the SO system compass before, but for anyone who hasn't seen the previous videos, the key idea is that all of these brands are connected through the 3D Experience platform. You can see brands like SOLIDWORKS and CATIA, which are two of the most popular CAD solutions in the world. And the value of the platform is that it allows us to work in a one connected environment. So as a SOLIDWORKS or CATIA user, you can still use familiar parametric modeling workflows such as sketches, features, dimensions, and the design intent. But you can also add cloud-based design capabilities like 3D Sculptor rule, which gives you sub-D modeling tools for creating organic, freeform, and complex shapes more easily. So the platform gives us both the engineering control of parametric modeling and the creativity flexibility of sub-D modeling. Today, we will focus on how 3D Sculptor can support this design workflow. I made before a quick comparison video where I designed the same spoon in two different ways. The first one was done in SOLIDWORKS using the traditional modeling and surfaces tool. The second one was done in xShape using the 3D Sculptor rule on the 3D Experience platform. The idea is not to prove that one tool replaces the other, as I mentioned, but to compare the workflow. So let's watch that video together and see the difference in practice. This is another short example showing how we can combine both approaches. We are working inside SOLIDWORKS, which is a tool many engineers are already comfortable with, but using the 3D Experience add-ins, we can import directly what we created in xShape using the 3D Sculptor rule. So we can use xShape for fast and flexible freeform design, then continue in SOLIDWORKS for engineering details, assemblies, drawings, and manufacturing. This is where the workflow becomes very, very powerful because we are not replacing one tool with another, as I said. We are connecting them together to have the best option ever. So I'm going to click here and let's see together how we can design this model on the cloud using only the browser. The first thing I'm going to do is to create a new part. I can give this part any name. For this example, I'll just give it a simple name and then I'll click create. And again, I haven't installed anything on my computer. I'm opening the application from the browser and I can start creating my design directly from here. As you can see, the design manager now shows the name of the file. The concept is very similar to SOLIDWORKS. So if you are already a SOLIDWORKS user, many things here will look familiar. On the right side, we have the view controls. From here, you can change it to the front view, right view, top view, or any other view you need. This application is called xShape, and this is where we are going to create our design. If we scroll down, we can see the different feature tabs. We have features for solid, surfaces, assemblies, and other modeling tools. Everything is organized for you in one environment. For this example, I'm going to create an iron. So I'll go to the subdivision modeling section and expand it. Here we can see the different sub-D primitives that we discussed before. We have a box, quad pole, cylinder, globe, torus, cone, and pyramid. For this design, I'm going to start with a box. Once I select the box, xShape asks me where I want to insert it. For this example, I'm going to place it directly on the origin. So I will select the origin. By default, the boxes start with a control structure of approximately 3 by 3 by 3. You can increase or decrease the number of divisions depending on how much control you need over the final shape. There is an important reason behind this, and I will explain it in a minute. For now, I'll keep the default settings and click OK. Now we have our first sub-D model. All the points, faces, edges, and loops are available, and we can start controlling them. The first thing I wanted to do is control some of these surfaces. If I activate the cage, xShape displays a control cage around the model. This cage gives us a different way to control the geometry. For example, if I select this face, the robot manipulator appears. Using the robot, I can pull or push the selected face and control the shape. I can also hold the control key and select more than one face. As you can see, when I select these three faces, the robot is automatically positioned in the middle of the selections. This allows me to move all three faces together. I'm going to pull these faces by approximately 8 millimeters. As you can see, the complete model changes smoothly based on this movement. Now I will do the same thing with these three upper faces. For these faces, I'm going to use a value of approximately 45 millimeters. This is one way to control the sub-D geometry by using the cage. However, we don't always need to display the cage. We can change the display to surfaces only. Then from the front view, we can select the individual points that we want to move or modify. Again, the robot manipulator gives us access to the different directions. We can use it to move the selected points along the required axis. We can also select the surface directly and control the models through the surface. As you can see, the process is very simple. There is nothing complicated here. You select one point, multiple points, or a surface, and then you pull or push the geometry. If the orientation of the robot is not correct, you can right-click and change its orientation. For example, you can align the movement with the global X, Y, or Z direction. I'm going to move this selection by approximately 50 millimeters. Perfect. Now we have moved this section. Because the product we are designing is an iron, I want to make sure that the part is symmetrical. I don't want to repeat the same modifications manually on the other side. To do that, I'm going to activate symmetry. I'll choose the option to create the symmetry based on a plane. For this model, I want that symmetry to be based on the YZ plane. I'll select the plane and click OK. Now any change I make on one side of the part will also be applied to the opposite side. The next tool I want to use is the crease tool. Let's see what happens when we apply it. Now I want to make some additional adjustments. I wanted this point to be aligned with the horizontal plane. When I select this point and the plane together, xShape gives me an option to align the selected geometry with the plane. I'll apply this option. Now I'll select these points and move them by approximately 20 millimeters. I'll also move this point slightly towards the inside. As you can see, controlling the shape is very simple. Once you understand where the features are and how to control the robot manipulator, you can start designing immediately. At this stage, I don't need the symmetry anymore, so I can exit the symmetry mode. Now the parts look like that. At the beginning, when we created the box, it started with approximately 3 divisions in each direction. The number of loops controls how much control you have over the shape. For example, if I have one loop here, I can control this area. If I add another loop next to it, I get more local control. If I add another loop, I get even more control over the shape. So the more loops you have, the more detailed control you can have over the geometry. However, this doesn't mean that you should add as many loops as possible. Sometimes you need to add a loop and sometimes you need to remove one. For example, I wanted to delete this loop. I'll double click the loop to select the complete loop and then I'll press delete on the keyboard. As you can see, the complete loop has been removed. If I want to select another complete loop, I can double click it. Then I can use the robot to move it. For this loop, I will use a value of approximately 25 millimeters. I'm using a specific values because I'm trying to reach a specific model shape. Now I'll double click this loop and move it by approximately 50 millimeters. At the moment, we mainly have the outer surface of the iron. The next step is to create the opening for the handle. We can do this using the sub-D extrude tool. The extrude tool can be used for many different operations. One of the interesting things I wanted to show you here is what happens when we select two opposite surfaces. As you can see, xShape starts creating an extrusion from the selected surface. Now, if I select the opposite surface on the other side, xShape creates an opening between the two selected surfaces. This allows us to create the hole for the handle very quickly. I'll click OK to accept the result. As you can see, the shape of the iron is now becoming much clearer. I'll make a few more adjustments. I'll move the upper points by approximately 30 millimeters and the lower points by approximately 40 millimeters. This is our first extrusion. We can also create another extrusion. I'll activate the extrude tool again, select these faces and click OK. Let's look at the final shape. As you can see, the geometry is developing step by step. Now I'll select these points. We have also an option that allows us to control all the selected points together. I want to pull this area slightly toward the back. I'll move it to approximately this position and confirm the change. Once I'm happy with the first sub-D shape, I'll click OK to finish the sub-D feature. xShape now understand that all these faces belong to one complete sub-D model. However, this is not the end of the design. We will still need to create the upper part of the iron. For that, we can create another sub-D primitive. I will add another shape here and work a little faster this time. I'll control the scale and set it approximately 25. Let's look at the model from the front view. There is another useful tool that helps us modify a group of points. This tool is called Flex. I'll activate the Flex tool and move these points. As you can see, it is almost like adding a shear or bending effect to the selected points. I'll apply a similar change to the points on the opposite side. I'm trying to reach approximately the same value on both sides. Now I'll move this complete shape slightly down so that it connects properly with the first subdivision model. Once I'm happy with the result, I'll click OK to finish the second subdivision. So now we have created more than one sub-D feature. Later, we can combine these features together. It's important to understand that we are not limited to sub-D modeling. We can also use the normal sketches and parametric feature that we are familiar with. For example, I can create a normal sketch. Inside the sketch, I'll create a circle. For this circle, I will use a diameter of approximately 30 millimeter. Then I will exit the sketch and create a normal extrude feature. I'll set the extrusion length to approximately 50 millimeters and click OK. Now we have a standard parametric extrusion added to the model. So as you can see, I can continue adding different features until the complete product is finished. I can now combine the sub-D modeling with the normal sketches, extrusions, and other engineering features. This gives us a lot of flexibility to complete the body. In the final stage, we can add the required fillets. For example, I'll select this edge and apply a 5 millimeter fillets. I'll also select this edge and apply the same value. 5 millimeters may be slightly too large, so let's reduce it. I'll change the fillet value to approximately 3 millimeters. I can also add another 3 millimeter fillets to this edge. Then I'll click OK. Now I'm happy with the final result. We can now change the view and inspect the complete model. From the view controls, we can select any orientation we want. We can also exit the sub-D editing environment so that we only see the finished model. The reference planes can be hidden in the same way that we normally hide planes in SOLIDWORKS. We can also change the color or appearance of the sub-D vision model and use any color we prefer. And this is the main idea behind creating a freeform product using xShape. We started with a simple box, controlled the faces, points, and loops, used symmetry and crease tools, created extrusions, added another subdivision, combined it with the normal parametric features, and finished the model with fillets. As you can see, the process is simple and flexible. You don't need to build a complete shape using many complicated features. You can push, pull, and control the shape until you reach the result you want. That's everything we wanted to highlight today. See you later in another video. Bye-bye.